Okay, so we're going to start talking about the digestive system. We're going to be wrapping up anatomy and physiology pretty quickly. We just got a couple more systems to go through. So digestive system is also called the gastrointestinal system, known by two different ways, obviously meaning the same thing. Gastro, talking about the stomach, and intestinal, talking about obviously intestines. So all of that. So it's not just the physical breakdown of food that we're talking about, getting food from big particles to small particles, such as when you chew something, you go from a big bite to a small bite. But it's also the chemical breakdown as well. So as it goes through the stomach and the intestines and everything, the food is physically broken down so that your body can absorb it. So it's both the physical and chemical breakdown. So we're going to talk about the different systems that the digestive system has within it. So we have the alimentary canal, which is literally from mouth to exit. The pathway that it goes through, it is the alimentary canal. And then the accessory organs are those that contribute different hormones or secretions or anything that will contribute to the breaking down of food. Okay, so looking at this here, the alimentary canal is going to be from mouth, and it's going to come down your esophagus to your stomach, get into your stomach, and go through all your small intestines, and go through the large intestine, and then out the exit. Okay, so we also have all of the accessory organs, so saliva glands, we have the liver, we have the pancreas, we have the gallbladder, things like that. And we're going to look at those a little more closely as to what they do and how they contribute to the digestive system. Okay, so alimentary canal, so it's a long tube that runs from mouth to anus. And then the different accessory organs are the salivary glands, the tongue, the teeth, the liver, gallbladder, and pancreas. Kind of odd to think that an organ is a tongue or a tooth, but technically it is. Obviously, it does contribute to you breaking down food. So in that sense, it does make sense. So looking at the mouth itself, is also known as the buccal cavity. Houses the teeth and the tongue. We have the hard and soft palate, and then we have the salivary glands. So looking at the mouth from the side, obviously we have our lips and we have our teeth here, and this is the tongue, and then this is the inside of your mouth going back down into your throat here. So obviously we have the teeth that's going to physically break down the food. The tongue is going to help us to swallow, to get it back to the back of our throat so that we can digest it. The hard palate is going to be up in here, which is like the roof of your mouth. Soft palate is going to be right behind that. And then the little dangly thing that you always see in the back of your throat is the uvula. And that's the end of your soft palate back there. Salivary glands, there's a bunch all in your mouth that's going to help water your mouth so that you can get the food nice and moist and get it into more manageable things that you can swallow, and that way it's not dry as it goes down. But also the salivary glands are going to, it has different enzymes in it that's going to actually start breaking down food as the process starts. So then we have the pharynx, or the throat, and that's going to carry, looking back on this real quick, so the pharynx is right here, okay? So it's both where the nasal cavity, air is going to be coming down here, and also where food is going to be coming out here. So where it's both together, that's the pharynx. When it separates off for one tube to go to your stomach, it's the esophagus. And then the other tube that's going to go to your lungs for breathing is going to be your larynx and trachea. Okay. So again, the pharynx is the carrier for both food and water. Food and air. Goodness. So it's going to carry a food bolus to the esophagus. Now, bolus just means like a wad of food. And And then so when your bolus is swallowed, the epiglottis is going to close to prevent food from entering the respiratory tract. So going back to the picture, epiglottis is this little blue guy right here. So when you go to swallow, this guy is going to bend backwards and it's going to close off to the trachea. That way when you swallow, you're not going to get food in your lungs. Now, sometimes we talk and eat at the same time, and we get a little bit of water back there, and that tickles the larynx, and that'll make you cough for like 10 minutes straight. But anyway, so the epiglottis is going to help prevent us from getting food into our lungs. So then we have the esophagus, and again, esophagus is the one, like after it breaks off from the pharynx, is going to be the tube that's going to be carrying food down to our stomach. It's actually behind the trachea. That's what it means when it says dorsal. So behind the trachea, it goes back behind all of there, and again, it's going to carry the bolus to the stomach. So your little wad of food is going to make its journey down your throat, go all the way down until it hits your stomach and get in there. Peristalsis is a fancy term for just the movement of food. So it's going to like start squeezing at the top and squeezing and squeezing and squeezing until you get it all the way down. So this is like, think about when you're running out of toothpaste in your little tube, and you start at the back and you work all that toothpaste all the way to the front. Peristalsis does the same thing, and it's going to work the bolus all the way down the esophagus until it reaches the stomach. And then the stomach itself is the picture that you see there. So a lot of it is muscle, which is this here. There's a bunch of different layers. And then the next layer is what we call rugae, which is this foldy stuff here that creates a lot of surface area in the stomach for things to be digested. There's a lot of mucus that's produced in here to keep our from the acid that's in the stomach from actually eating through the stomach and getting into our abdomen. And we'll talk about when that doesn't work right. So again, the rugae is just the folds in the stomach. Then we have the small intestine. So it's about 20 feet long, which obviously is huge. And it's got 1 inch diameter, and it's going to receive food from the stomach, and that's going to be known as chyme. Okay, so we've moved from a bolus to chyme. Still just a wad of food, but it's been digested a little bit more than when it first started in the esophagus. So there's different sections of the small intestine. So we have the duodenum, which is the very first section. We have the jejunum, which is the second section, and then we have the ileum, which is the third section. So the duodenum is about 9 to 10 inches long, and it's going to receive bile from the gallbladder and pancreatic juices to start breaking down the food, and we'll talk about those in just a second. And then we have the jejunum, which is going to be 8 feet long, and the ileum, which is about 12 feet long, and again makes up the small intestine as a whole. Now there's a lot of things are getting absorbed in the small intestine. There's villi that's in there, which are like little finger-like projections, and that's going to help absorb the nutrients, because your nutrients are basically, almost all of them are absorbed in the small intestine, so we have to have a lot of surface area for that. And so we have these little finger-like projections that are everywhere. Let me see if I can draw that without, if you thought my drawings on the whiteboard was bad, you're going to have to deal with this. Okay, so there are little finger-like projections like this along the inside of the small intestine. Okay, so things can be absorbed all through here. And actually, if you were to take the small intestines out and stretch it all the way flat, it would cover up a tennis court. So there's lots of places for things to get absorbed.